Okay, so this is fairly similar to what we were doing with substitution, with doing the x's and the y's. Now look at me. Stop taking your notes for a minute. Okay, we have steps. I wrote out the steps, okay? You're going to stack the problems on top of each other, and we're going to go through it. You're going to set one to eliminate. You're going to solve, and then you're going to substitute. Remember how we solved for the x or y, and then we put it back into the other equation? All those steps are the same, okay? We'll be doing it again. So look at these two linear functions. X minus 2y equals negative 19. 5x plus 2y equals 1. Don't these two x and y cancel each other out? They do. So first step, we stack on top of each other. We ignore these because this ends up being 0. And we combine our 5x and our x, 6x. We take 19, add 1 to it, negative 19 plus 1, negative 18. Then divide by 6, x equals negative 3. Any questions on how I solved it? Yes?
I don't get it.
2y, negative 2y, and plus 2y. They cancel each other out. So that eliminates the y. It's done for us per se. And then we combine the x's together. We combine the numbers together and we solve for it. Now this gives us our one ordered pair, or excuse me, our x. So we go back to this equation, we write it. And remember this from last week? Write the equation, draw a line on it, and then take your x and substitute it in. So this x is negative 3, so I go plug it in here, and then I solve for it. So negative 3, bring down the negative 2y minus 19. I added 3 to both sides. Negative 19 and 3, negative 16. Divide by negative 2. These are both negatives, so y equals 8. Now we have our ordered pair. We have our x.
Negative 3 and 8.
And we have our y. And scoot up, scoot up. Come over here, come over here. Okay, any questions so far?
I kind of get it.
These two right here, if you're looking at a problem and you see that they cancel each other out, then stack them and go through your 4 steps, okay? So this next one, notice here we have a plus 4y and we have a plus 4y, okay? That means we need to get one to be opposite of each other, which is subtract. Pull your planners out, fill out your planners, please. Okay, from here, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to follow the same step and we're going to stack it. But now what we need to do is we need to get this y to eliminate itself, okay? So we're going to put parentheses around the entire equation, do distributive property, and multiply it by negative 1, okay? Now, from here, did it really matter which one we chose? It doesn't. As long as we have a negative 1's canceling out, we could have done the first one. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so how we do this? We multiply this by this, and this by this. So negative 1 times 2, positive 2x. Negative 1 times 4y, negative 4y. That gets us our elimination right here. And then negative 8 times 1, negative 8. So once we have them stacked on top of each other and we've done distributive property, then we can solve for them. So this 4y and this negative 4y cancels each other out. Then we add the 3 and the 2. That's 5x. And the 18 minus 8, which is 10. We divide both sides by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. We have our x. Okay? Now, by the way, it doesn't matter which one we plug it in. Because us solving for this, because we did elimination, either one will work. So I take this one, negative 2x 4y, I rewrite it, and I take the x and I substitute in here. So I'm going to substitute this x in parentheses, which is 2. So here, now we're just going to solve for it, and we're done. We're going to solve for our y. So negative 2 times 2, negative 4, bring down the 4y, bring down the 8. Do the opposite of negative 4, add 4 to both sides. 8 plus 4 is 12, bring down the 4y. Divide both sides by 4, y equals 3. We have an ordered pair. Don't forget this step. Don't just tell me the x and y, put it in an ordered pair. Okay? Any questions on these two? So we have to look at the problem, okay? Then it gets a little dicey on the next one. We have two 4y's, we got to get to a negative. These two cancel each other out, so this one's fairly easy. Now we're going to move on to this one. So looking at it immediately, we don't necessarily have an answer, but I'll tell you what I typically do. I could do the x's or I could do the y's, it doesn't matter, okay? Both these are positive and both these are negative, so I know that I'm going to be multiplying this by a couple of things. So I know 12 and 8 is divisible by 24, so I'm going to get these to 24. So once again, first step, I'm going to stack the equations on top of each other, and I'm going to figure out how I get this to 24. Now I need one to be a negative and one to be a positive. How did I know it was 24? Well, 12 times 2 is 24, and 8 times 3 is 24. Okay? Most of your numbers are going to be a little different. If this was 12 and this was 6, we only have to multiply 1 by 2, right? So we have to get one that's equal to the numbers right here. Okay? So if this one's a negative, I'm going to multiply this one by a positive. If this one's a negative, I need this one to be a negative for this one to be a positive, right? Because positive times a negative is going to be a negative, and a negative by a negative is going to be a positive. And that's going to cancel these two out. So then we do distributive property on both the problems. 7 times 2, 14. 2 times 12, 24. 2 times 20, 22, 44. Any questions so far? Just distributive property, right? Then from here we're going to do the same thing. Negative 3 times 5, negative 15. Negative 3 times negative 8. There's that positive 24 we need. Negative 3 times negative 14, 42. That's positive. So now we have it stacked on top of each other. We can go ahead and solve them. So this is 14 minus 15. That's minus x. This cancels out. Negative 42, or excuse me, negative 44 and 42 is negative 2. Remember, we can't have a negative variable. Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. There's a negative by a positive, turns this x to 2. So now that we have our 2, we're going to go back into the equation and we're going to substitute the x for 2. So 7x minus 12 equals negative 22. I just rewrote it, and now I'm going to replace this. So inside my parentheses is 2, and I go ahead and solve. So 7 times 2 is 14. Bring down the rest of the problem. I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. These are two negatives, so it's going to add together. 22 and 14 is 36. Bring down the negative 12y. We divide by negative 12, divide by negative 12. Now notice this is negative 36 and negative 12, so it's going to be a positive 3. So now ordered pair, last step, is 2 and 3. Any questions so far? No? Do you guys think this is easier than the last one? The only thing you're doing is stacking them up on top of each other and solving for them.
Battery recharge unit.
Go get your charger.
I don't have it. Oh. That's what I was talking about.
Low battery recharge unit.
Okay, next one. Same scenario.
Low battery recharge unit.
Same scenario, but in here we're trying to see what it is that we can solve to eliminate. We're trying to eliminate an x, we're trying to eliminate a y. So the first thing we're going to stack on top of each other. Liz, I sent Jasmine out. Her ankle thing is beeping. Okay, so here, this one's fairly easy. This one's fairly easy because we have an x and a 2. So if I multiply this one by negative 2, then I can get them to cancel each other out. So I'm going to put this negative 2 on the outside after I stack them, and then I'm going to do distributive property. So negative 2 times x, negative 2x, negative 2 times 3, negative 6, negative 2 times 14, positive 28. Bring down the rest of the equation, and then solve for it. So notice these cancel each other out, right? Negative, positive, then we add these two together. 6 and 4 is 10, 28 and 32 is 60. We divide both sides by negative 10, y equals 6. Now we have our y. So my y is negative 6. Then I'm going to take my y into this equation. Doesn't matter which one we pick. X plus 3y equals negative 14. And I'm going to plug the negative 6 into the y. So x plus 3, negative 6 equals negative 14. So we're going to multiply these. 3 times negative 6, 18. Bring down the negative 14, bring down the x. Do the opposite of negative 14, add it to both sides. This is 18 plus 4. So it ends up being 4 equals x. Now we have our x, now we have our y. Any questions? Okay, so talk to me about the 4 steps. Look at this first problem. We have an x, a minus x, and a plus, don't we? So this problem's pretty much done already, right? We're going to stack them on top of each other. We're going to take care of this. We're going to solve our y's and solve our numbers to figure out what y is, and we're going to go plug it back into the equation. Okay? What, Naomi? I'm sorry? Yes. Same exact thing. You're going to stack these up. You're going to follow all 4 steps. You're going to stack them on top of each other. You're going to eliminate. Now look, I'm going to give you some clues. This one already eliminates itself, right? This one right here. We have a y and a 2y. We also have 5x. So we can do one or two things. We can multiply one of these by -1, which is going to turn this to a -5x, or we can multiply this one by -2. It doesn't matter as long as we eliminate one and go through our steps. This one right here, -3x and 2, I try to avoid these. I could make this 6 at the end of the day, but it's easier with this being +4 to multiply this by -4. Okay? This one down here, that's 20. I'm going to take the smaller number and I'm going to take 6. So I'm going to get this to 6x, multiply this by 3, multiply this by 2. One of them has to be a negative. Okay? So you want to get your notes done today. You want to get your do now. Don't worry, we're going to cover the worksheet tomorrow. Okay? Okay, did you have your planner? Okay, you want to get started on your notes. You want to turn your do now in. Your do now is your points for today. There's pencils in the back.